Hey guys, it's Amy and I am back with another video, and today is going to be a fun one. We are looking at 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books, and I got this idea from Jack Edwards here on YouTube. I thought his video of this was so fun and hilarious, so I wanted to try it for myself. But before we get into these 1-star reviews, let me know how you are in the comments. Let me know some of your favorite books, and if you've seen some of the 1-star reviews of those books, let me know some of the crazy things that people said. I've accumulated some of these 1-star reviews, and it is gonna be a ride, I can tell you that. So let's get into this list. So first up, we are looking at the book that really got me back into reading as an adult, and that is City of Brass, the first of the David Bode trilogy. I loved the whole trilogy, but there's a special connection that I have with the first book. But let's look at some of these 1-star reviews. So Bria says, it seems that anything with a pretty cover will receive awards no matter what garbage is underneath it. This book is just candied popcorn. Easy to consume, you could probably finish it in a sitting, but there is absolutely no substance to it, and you will just be hungry and dying for something else 5 minutes later. Oh my God. Like, that is such a hyper-specific burn. Like candied popcorn, I guess caramel popcorn? Wow. Okay, Bria. Okay. I can see why people look at this book. The world it's set in is exotic and fascinating, but I just found it maddening to read. All these various factions and tribes and species who hate each other for unclear reasons and apparently spend most of their time thinking up increasingly spectacular and horrible ways to kill each other. Which, okay, sure, I can see the parallels to real life, but I don't want to read a novel about it. It's frustrating enough as it is. That's kind of like the whole premise of the book, is the politics that are going on. That's like a huge part of the book. So yeah, if you're not really into like those kind of politics that reflect real life, probably not going to be a book for you. Okay, Lexi, she's saying 1.5 stars. Let's not pretend that this is anything but an Aladdin-spun Twilight fanfic that seeks to answer the question, what would happen if Jasmine couldn't decide between Aladdin or the genie? Only this time, Aladdin and the genie are both ill-tempered, hot-headed, misogynistic, empty flesh bags. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, when I first started, like, when I picked up the book in the library and I looked at the synopsis, I got a little bit of this like Aladdin vibe, but once you actually read the book, it is so much more than that. So seeing this is just absolutely crazy. But the misogynistic empty flesh bags. But it was like, there was like character development and change. So it's like, yeah, but oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Chakraborty would benefit greatly from a 4-credit creative writing class. Wow. Not that she's like sold so many copies of her books or anything like that. Whew. All right, this is the last one for City of Brass. I hated this book so much, it gave me heartburn. It gave her heartburn. All right. Whew. We're off to just a great start. Okay. The next book we're looking at is The House in the Cerulean Sea. This first review is quite funny, but I had to do some editing on these reviews just so that we have like family-friendly content and everything. 8 poop feeling. That's all they wrote. Okay, the next one. What a dreadful waste of time and paper. The premise was okay, but the characters were one-dimensional at best, and the orphans came off as a set of fairy tale cliches who were apparently meant to be charming by virtue of sheer obnoxiousness. Wow. In fact, this whole book read like it wanted to be a comic, Simplistic, preachy, predictable, cartoonish, and unclever no matter how you slice it. Oh my God. Like, just how, like, upset people get. But I know I've gotten upset about books as well, but just like how detailed people get in it. If I really didn't like a book, I probably am not going to take the time to review it. Like, go put like a review of this on Goodreads and everything. But I understand like the purpose of it. But yeah, wow. Again, another very hyper specific review. Okay, this has quotes from the book. Your optimism is contagious. I am positively a ray of sunshine. This book was insufferable. Oh my God. Reading this was so tiring. Honestly, don't know from where all the hype goes. I don't know how much the book was necessarily hyped when it first came out, but I know I see people talk about it on TikTok. That's where I heard about it originally. But insufferable. Wow. Okay, did I read a different book from everyone else? This is a typical YA romp. There was nothing typical about this book. Oh my gosh. Nothing really happens, and it's so over the top with saccharine sentimentality. It just made me roll my eyes. Meh. I'll never get this time back. Okay, so I looked up what saccharine meant, and it's just talking about like loving nature and things like that. So like it was like they were out in the forest and, you know, doing different things like outside, outdoors. I think this is quite harsh, and I feel like they're just trying to use like big words to sound intelligent and giving. This is somebody that likes to hate. You can just tell if they're putting in that kind of vocabulary into their hate, like they enjoy doing this. I love TJ Klune, but this book was a huge disappointment. It's predictable, patronizing, preachy, and trite. I hope his next one is better. Like, I don't really see how people can say it's predictable. Maybe in that it has just like a happy ending. But again, reading is subjective, so, but to call it patronizing and preachy and trite, really? Come on, come on. I am baffled by the popularity of this book. The world building is non-existent. Really? Really? I feel like this is a crucial element of the book. Why are things the way they are? Dunno. There's definitely world building in the book. Definitely world building. All right. Our next book is Legends and Lattes, the famous cozy fantasy book. And I feel like generally people's disapproval of the book comes from just not enjoying the genre. So it's not necessarily maybe that the book is bad, it's just that they don't like that particular type of fantasy. But let's dive in. The target demographic for this book is people who have never read a book, but people who have spent their lives in coffee shops watching other people read books and wondering what it might be like to read a book themselves. I am not the target demographic for this book. See, right there. But oh my God. A book for people who watch other people read books and wonder what reading a book would be like. That is, yeah, okay. If I hear the term cozy fantasy again, I'm shooting myself in the eye. Oh my gosh. I know it has been like a buzz thing, but that's hilarious. Okay. I feel bamboozled and betrayed. I genuinely don't understand the hype. I often hear this pitched as a cozy fantasy, but it's the most boring fantasy I have ever read in my entire life. The plot was non-existent, the characters fell flat, and the character dynamics poorly explored. At one point, I was actively rooting for Viv, that's the main character, her downfall, not because I hated her as a character, but because I was so bored. Clearly, I am not the target audience. Again, like, you just don't like cozy fantasy. And it's like, it's cozy. It's probably not, and it even says on the cover, it's low stakes. So if that's not something that you like, it's not going to be for you. But bamboozled and betrayed. Okay. What the blank? Why is this book so hyped? It was literally like reading a manual. How to open a cafe for dummies. I swear I don't get it. Okay. I mean, I could see how maybe you would see that, but there's different characters and there's some development. There is story in there. Like, people are so harsh. Okay, this person DNF'd. I believe there is a reason we normally follow heroes through their adventures, not when they retire and open a cafe. This is a barista manual that describes in detail how to make coffee or how to remodel a shed. I could not get through this boringness. Yeah, it's just, I think cozy fantasy is just not for these people. And that's okay. That's totally okay. This book was trash city. I cannot wait to roast it at book club. Okay, so they read this for a book club, but trash city. The next book is the first of the World of the Narrows series, which is Fable. Again, these are all books that I really love, but I really loved this series. But Fable, obviously being the first one, hooked me in. But this first one says, I started the audiobook today while cleaning, and the cleaning was a lot more interesting. I also listened to the audiobook while cleaning, and I thought it was super interesting. But to each their own. I have no idea why I didn't DNF this book. It was so boring. I kept reading, hoping for an unexpected twist and for the story to pick up, but it never happened. What is this person talking about? There were twists. There was adventure. They don't know what they're talking about. I had to finish it in a day because I can't DNF. And like, I felt physically sick because it was so boring. Physically sick. That's quite dramatic. This person DNF'd at 30%. Every time I see this in my Kindle app, I literally dread the thought of opening it up and continuing to read it again. It's so boring, too overly drawn out, and Fable keeps giving me secondhand embarrassment. It's sad because I really wanted to enjoy this. I don't understand this at all. I really enjoyed this book. Like, boring and overly drawn, like, no. Okay, this person DNF'd at 50%. This book is so gosh dang boring. The characters are forgettable and have no personality. The setting would be interesting if explained, like, at all. Really? It was pretty explained. Like, they're on, like, ships most of the time, but it's like these seaside towns, and they even go into the towns and everything. Yeah, I don't understand. It's like, are we reading the same book? I don't think we're reading the same book. Okay, getting into a series that I haven't finished, but this first book, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, the first of the Farseer trilogy, I absolutely loved. Almost done with this whole trilogy, but let's see what people had to say. Okay, they DNF'd at 40%. This is not a real fantasy, is it? I think it is, and it's known as like a pretty famous fantasy. I read this book because of its popularity and constant recommendations among fantasy readers, but after having finished it, I feel like I've been punked. Oh man, okay. 1 star, what the hell is this? I could understand how this book might not be for everyone because it does have a really interesting writing style. It can be a little bit slow in the beginning, but it's just a lot of like world and character building. And I feel like that's kind of true for a lot of fantasy series. So it's just, you just kind of got to roll with the punches and except that that's kind of just how the genre goes. Don't know if it's because of the audiobook or the story, but couldn't get into it and couldn't care less about the characters. Bored out of my mind. Too bad. Really wanted another adult fantasy to binge on. I have not listened to the audiobook. When it comes to like higher fantasy, I can't really listen to the audiobook because I get lost. That's just my brain. So maybe reading the physical would help. I don't know, but you hate to see what people hate on your books. So boring. Hated every character. Every character? Really? Absolute snore fest. I tried so hard to like this book and picked it up twice, but after getting through 60%, it's still boring, and I'm so firmly leaving it in 2020. Hated every single... There are some characters that I can understand you hating because they're the villains. But every character? Come on. Come on. Too focused on being edgy and depressing to live up to its potential. Whoever's fantasy is like this has a sad imagination. What does that even mean? Whoever's fantasy is like this has a sad imagination. I mean, it's about overcoming and coming of age and, you know, it's like there's gonna be conflict. Of course there's gonna be conflict. Wow, this one is bold. Okay, this was the worst book I've read in the past 5 years or so, and I read a lot. Bad story, boring, bad writing. Every time it got good, it got boring again. I found the narrative tedious. Wow. The worst thing I mean, what do they deem as reading a lot? But in the past 5 years or so. Wow. But see, it's like everything was bad, but then they're like, every time it got good, it got bad again. And it's just like, I think people just don't like conflict, is what I'm hearing. It's like, it's going to happen. That's just part of story writing. Okay, the next book is Night Circus. And I definitely understand if this one is hated on because it was a very unique writing style. It was very lyrical writing. It's very unique, and I understand it can be a little polarizing. I really, really enjoyed it, but it is very flowery language, and the ending is a little ambiguous, so I can understand why people maybe didn't like this one, but let's see what people had to say. Nothing happened in this book. You know when you start reading a book, and the writing is so effing magical, and you feel like you're in a fairy tale because the author's sentences flow like flower petals in the wind. And then you keep on reading, and the writing is still effing magical. But also, nothing has really happened. And then you're at the end of the book where the writing is still so effing magical, but still nothing happened. Yeah, that was this book. So they at least appreciated the writing. But there is stuff that happens in this book. There is stuff that happens in this book, but it is not the most plot-heavy book, so I can understand why they're saying this. But, oh my gosh, that's funny. Did not finish. I tried. Too much pretty writing and too little actual plot. The writing was just too pretty for me. Like, what? What does that even mean? And I could understand because it was not the most plot heavy. There was definitely plot. There were things happening, but it was definitely more like character driven and like atmospherical. So I will give them that. I will definitely give them that. I don't know if this is just me, but I have absolutely no idea what was happening in this book. I was constantly confused, and I still don't know what the game was about. And that was kind of the main premise of the book. So... And it was also slow. Really slow. I was bored out of my skull. Was there a plot? Barely. They emphasized that with a lot of exclamation points. Barely. They're short and concise. Nothing happened. And then again, nothing happened. This book took 10 years of my life away. Oh my God, these are so funny. I feel like Erin Morgenstern kind of missed her calling. She'd make a fabulous art director. The circus she has imagined is going to look stunning on film. Let's just hope some gifted director will figure out how to bring to life her cardboard-like characters and tensionless plot. What? What? Oh my God. There was so much tension in this book. I don't know what they're talking about. And the characters were definitely not cardboard. Oh my God. I feel like I was tricked into reading a young adult novel that was written for no reason other than to have the screenplay bought by Tim Burton. You know, they're not totally wrong because it definitely has like some Tim Burton vibes and I could totally see him doing this. If Tim Burton ever sees this, please buy the screenplay. I would be totally into that. Okay, the next book is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi, another Chakraborty book. And this is a little bit of a longer review that we're about to get into. I absolutely hate this book. The character of Amina is awful. The story and aspects are not explained fully. And it seems the writer got scatterbrained and just started adding random things and just assumed we will know what she was talking about. What the hell is a franc? Okay, if we took a history class, European history, we would probably know what a franc is. How did he get those powers? Where did Marid come from? And what is a parry? What do they want? Where do they come from? I usually take 3 or 4 days to read a book this size, and it took me a month to get through this thing. I refused to give up, and it would put me to sleep after reading 2 chapters. Save your time and give this a pass. Wow. Now, there were elements from the book that were kind of like little nods to her Daevabad trilogy. So there were some magical creatures in there that maybe you might not be familiar with because they are based on like Middle Eastern like mythology and lore and stuff. There was some stuff that I had to research as well in reading this book, but you know, I thought it was worth it. I thought it was worth it. So, okay, this person DNF'd at 60%. What a dumb and nonsensical book. Suddenly there were monster pirates and I couldn't take it seriously anymore. Oh my God. I mean, if you look at the cover itself, there's literally a monster with the pirate ship. So I don't know what else you'd be expecting. This was so dense and dry that I fell into a book rut. The premise was enticing, but in its stead were slow pacing for an already very linear plot, long monologues, and immature flat characters. What? What? All of this is wrong. All of this is wrong. Okay, last review. This is like if CW and Marvel joined forces to create a new Aladdin adaptation. One of the worst books I've ever read with some of the most insufferable main characters. P.S. The 1 star is for the cover. Okay, just because it's Middle Eastern doesn't mean it has anything to do with Aladdin. Okay? Like... And the CW, there aren't any superheroes, so I don't get the Marvel thing. The CW thing, like, there is some, like, romantic drama in there, but it's put in as, like, this hilarious part of the story. I don't get that at all. At all. Oh my God. Guys. That was quite the trip. Let me know what was your favorite of these crazy 1-star reviews. I don't know if I have a favorite. There were so many hilarious ones, but let me know what were some of your favorites of these reviews. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you agree with these 1-star reviews or not, if you agree with me instead. But guys, I hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. Bye.